There's rarely anyone in this world who would have had the perfect siblings. The one who truly understands the other one in their respective pursuits, and I guess I was all cursed in this respect as my older sister is a total freak, who is all boastful and arrogant about her husband's wealth. That she undermines my income, which I'm sure is far greater than her husband's. I'm 28 years of age and male, and have a bitter relationship with Stacy, 32, from the beginning itself, and she was the reason that I left my house to a certain extent. We lived in a quiet, mediocre neighborhood in our city, as our parents just managed to support our lives. My father, Robert, worked in a garage, and my mother, Martha, was a housewife, and he barely managed to support all her expenses and his excessive drinking habit from his tiny salary. Yet he would fulfill every single demand of my older sister while at the same time rejecting all the basic requirements of me and my younger brother, Barry. I don't know what was with her that attached my parents to her while ignoring us both of the time. I just guess that it's because of her charming face and lovely voice that everyone listens to her ridiculous sayings. She was indeed very beautiful and charming, and this is the reason that she gained so much attention in our school. Every other guy in her class and other adjoining classes wished to talk to her and be with her. She never had any difficulty having friends, as pretty much half of the school was attentive to her while she boasted about her dresses and other gifts that she would get from my father. She would regularly just receive gifts from my dad on various occasions, and still, her desire for girly stuff would not end any sooner. I'm not yet able to figure out how my father arranged to get so many presents for her with his ridiculous salary that he used to get from just the garage owner. Apart from that, my father had a regular habit of drinking, which consumed most of his salary, leaving just a fraction of it for other basic requirements, and I would often argue with my father and mother for all their prejudiced behavior towards me and Barry, as he was really young. So I was the one who always stood up for his rights and other needs, and there were a number of times when the argument between me and Robert infuriated me to such an extent that Martha would have to intervene in between to help us out from there. Though Martha too supported Stacy in all her cunning demands, still, she used to be the one who would sometimes try to confront me about the reason behind their love for Stacy. She said that they always wanted a girl like Stacy who would be charming and captive just like her. They prayed a number of times to God about their wish, and after just 2 years of marriage, they received Stacy by God's grace. Stacy was just like an angel when she was born, and everyone was speechless after witnessing as it may have happened, who knows? While she was like an angel for both my parents, she was no less than a demon for me and Barry. She used to show us the stuff that she used to get from our parents and tease us for not getting anything from them. It was such a demeaning thing to do to someone. I mean, it used to make us feel dejected and left out at the same time when it was Stacy's birthday, and our house will be lit with lights and other decorations, and she would call all her friends from school, and Martha would bake apple pie cakes for everyone, which was Stacy's favorite. There, she would disrespect us in front of all her friends, and then everyone there would laugh. It used to seem as if they all really loved that play. It would make me feel quite low, to be honest, as Barry could not hold such acts as he was very small for all that stuff. I remember it being my 12th birthday when I called some of my friends up for dinner at my house, and Robert came all drunk and started saying all sorts of useless things against me in front of my friends, and they were ashamed of Robert's response to me and even left my house at the very moment. I cried my lungs that day, complaining about everything to Martha, and she tried to please me with the pretty things and all these petty things that she had prepared for me. Barry too stood by my side all the while Robert enraged his fury on me for demanding a normal birthday party. Stacy stood at the door, teasing me with all her precious stuff that she had gotten from my parents, and this just made me so extremely furious. And I decided to leave my house all of a sudden because of the partially that my parents showed towards Stacy. So I packed all my stuff and I left, which was just some clothings and the books that I used to read back then. As I was going, I got hold of Barry, who was seeing me with all his cuteness, and I really felt bad for leaving Barry there, yet I promised him that I would come to visit him outside. I had a dream of getting successful in life by taking care of my younger brother, who too felt all the same as I did in that household. I went straight to my friend's apartment, which he and his elderly grandfather shared after leaving my house with all my belongings. He arranged for me to stay there, and we both shared a great time there living together, and I even stayed there for a few months, and after that I moved to his older brother in another city, who used to work in a restaurant out there. He and I shared a small room that belonged to him, and I even got a job there in that same said restaurant, which pretty much paid for my basic needs. One evening, I came across a fine gentleman who was very pleased with my knowledge of numbers and asked me to work with him in the shared market funds. I grabbed the opportunity and joined his office as the trader, selling various funds and stocks with him to other people. Needless to say, I enjoyed the job and the way everyone favored me and cherished me for all my efforts and the marks that I had set. It was something that I'd been craving my whole life. This went on for a long time, and I was happy as I had enough money for my sustainability. There were times when we hit rock bottom because of the recession in the market, and times when we doubled our revenue for the whole year in just a single month. The shared market is a business that no one can really predict. Yet, if you know how to benefit from the loss, then you're already way ahead of other players. Over time, I became a trade analyst, a job that does not require me to be in the office all the time. I just have to review the trend of the equity and funds on a regular basis and get some delightful insights out of it. With that leisure of being anywhere, I got back to my own city and bought a house of my own there. It was after a long time that I set foot in my locality. Everyone there was so pleased to see me back, and they were really proud of all my achievements, and as they used to hear it from Benny, who had frequent talks with me over the phone, that I had gifted them, some months ago with a bit of cash. As I went inside my home, I found Martha relaxing in the same chair in which she used to sit all day back in the day. She was really excited and happy to see me there after so much time, and later on, as I went around the house, I found that nothing much had really changed in our household since the time I left, except for the fact that Robert had had some control over his drinking habits, and now he only drinks occasionally. The one thing I found quite relieving was the absence of my sister Stacy. You see, her absence from our house felt alluring to me. Moreover, Barry also enjoyed it there after Stacy had gone to live with her husband. He told me that he too grew very impatient with all her ridiculous behaviors of wanting things and showing those things in front of her friends. Barry recalled telling me about Stacy's marriage. She had been married to some guy who owns a bit of land and, well, it's in the countryside and works at some senior post in the medical facility. She had confronted all the details with everyone in our locality and her friends as if she had won some accolade in her life. Barry and Martha asked me to come to their wedding, which was being held in one of the most expensive halls in our city, though I could not come at that time as I was busy with my work at the time, and after which she was upset at me for skipping her marriage ceremony completely. I tried to apologize to her about it a number of times, though she always ignored me by saying that I gave more importance to my low-paying job than her grand marriage. She talked to me all about her husband's wealth, and even said that I would not be able to reach half of his wealth in my entire lifetime, you uneducated fool. I have not disclosed the details of my job with her, as I knew that she would not believe me at all, and would simply make fun of me. Moreover, I found it difficult to explain the real world to her. She could not understand the things so early, and it took her some time to understand them throughout life. To her, the only thing that could possibly mean something is money, well, and that is all she really cares about. And she could not really handle the fact that I make way more money than her husband, Daniel. It turned out that I do know Stacy's husband professionally, as once we came across each other when he was trying to invest in some equity and wanted a clear image of the asset from me. So I helped him, and he became so fond of me that he wanted to indulge in other dealings as well, though I got along on some other projects after that, and I just told her that we share the same town, though we did not really share many details. After some days of my settling there, Martha organized a Thanksgiving dinner at our house, where she had invited all of our cousins and other relatives along with Stacy and her husband. After a long time, Stacy came to our house after her wedding, and Martha was really excited for the Thanksgiving dinner. So she prepared everything for it, and she even had made the apple pie cake, which was a favorite of Stacy, and it was one thing that she made very often to please her. It did not bother me much, as there was something in her cake that made it different from others. And I, too, really missed it all this time. To some extent, Stacy was not at all wrong in liking it, as it was very delightful. Everything was set, and all of our cousins and other relatives had arrived, and they were really happy to see me there after such a long time. And then Stacy arrived with her husband, Daniel. He left after a while as he had to go to do something in some other place, and I could not meet with him then as I was getting along with my childhood friends. They have all come to meet with me for Thanksgiving, and yet I was not able to invite them as I had been captive to such things before. Robert unexpectedly followed me and invited them all inside to share a feast. I wasn't able to believe Robert was behaving so well with my friends. I guessed it could have been because of his resistance to alcohol. As I entered, I found my sister sitting with all our cousins just boasting away about her house and other things that she owned. As my friends and I approached, everyone turned their attention to me, and shockingly, my father continued to introduce my friends to everyone there. This was altogether repelled by Stacy, who wasn't really able to hold back all this attention being shed on me. Nor was I, as all these siblings and things were quite unusual for me in my home. All my cousins and my friends together had dinner, and therefore after, we talked about various other things in general. I really enjoyed that evening, and it was certainly the best Thanksgiving dinner that I have had in my lifetime. My friends loved it too, and they left happily thereafter. All our cousins also seemed quite pleased with this Thanksgiving, and they were really delighted to have me there after a while. After finishing the work together, I decided to give the gifts to everyone which I've brought them. I distributed the gifts to my cousins and other relatives present, and I moved towards my sister to hand over the gift to her. I apologized for not being there at her wedding, and I told her in a rather comic way this could help to acknowledge my apology. My words did not really go well with her. She threw my gift away in disguise and burst all of a sudden on me, and she got back to her all-too-natural way of making ridiculous, arrogant comments. But this time her sayings were not just limited to me, they also covered my family members as well. The worst thing about all this was the presence of our relatives and cousins who withstood being the audience for her malicious words. Martha and Robert felt really, really bad, as they had not experienced such a thing from Stacy. Though I had been suspecting all this for quite some time, and I knew that Stacy would not be able to be happy with me being the center of attention. She said all sorts of awful things about me and my petty job, as well as she thought so. I wasn't very surprised, and it certainly did not hurt me much. I didn't know why. It could have been because I was not alone in this. Martha and Roberts were also witnessing it with me, or maybe I've grown immune to all this from my previous experiences, I don't know. I had to leave, as I had to submit the report and other processings of my work, leaving my family members and cousins alone with Stacy. Even Barry accompanied me to my home, as he grew tired of it also. As we left from my house, my brother-in-law came there to pick Stacy up. He was all excited to meet me and the other cousins, as I was told by Martha later that day, but his wife's behavior has let them all just be perplexed about what to do, and they pretty much left before his arrival. He didn't get to meet any of them. After a few days, I received a call from Stacy and she sounded chillingly cold and wanted me to visit. I've got to know her from the voice that she has not forgotten at all about the other day, and I suspected that there could be something waiting for me there. Yet I have to visit her place because she's called me there. I wasn't being all negative towards her. I was also hoping for something better that she could have for me, so I left my house to collect Barry from my parents' home, thinking that he might like to accompany me there. To my surprise, he's already left for school. Well, I reached her house to find her husband was not home, and he had left for his medical facility quite a while earlier, and I don't know why, but I wasn't able to get hold of my brother-in-law. I wanted to meet him, as I learned from Martha that he's a really nice guy, and I wanted to befriend him as the relationship between me and Stacy was not that clear. So maybe we could get along quite well, and it was the reason that I came to her house today. I found Stacy waiting for me on the beautiful lawn that she has before her house. Their house was just amazing, and it has everything that one could wish for. Stacy was not showing any sort of anger or harsh feelings towards me. Rather, she was behaving very well. It took me by surprise, as I never knew that she could be so pleasant towards me, and she gave me a tour of her whole house, revealing each and every fine thing that she had bought over the years. And all these things were really expensive and astonishing at the same time. I wasn't able to guess why she was telling it all to me, yet I followed her in all of what she was doing, as I wasn't going to upset her again. Thereafter, she sat me down on a fine sofa that was worth a huge amount of money as I came to know her. She disclosed to me the real income of her husband and all the land that he owns in the countryside, and after that she asked me about my job and the income that I received from it. And I found out that her pleasant voice sounded taunting to me. It was then that I got to know her real motive behind this whole thing, and she kept pressing me to disclose my income to her in such a ridiculous way I knew that she would not believe me when I told her the income. Unwillingly, though, I disclosed it to her, my real income amount that I made from the role of a trade analyst. As I thought, she began laughing all of a sudden, saying that I had become really humorous all this while. She was not going to believe me in any way that I make more money than her husband from my regular job. I knew that she would not be able to believe me when I told her so, and I wasn't able to withstand her awful behavior, so I left her house all of a sudden. Now I'm really confused as to what should be done here to let my sister believe that I earn so much. I request that you guys here just give me some suggestions, some genuine ways of getting out of this situation. What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. So it looks like a family drama. Nonetheless, we have 3 updates to hop into. If you guys are new to the channel and you want to help support it, all you gotta do is click that subscribe button. It helps the channel out so much. Completely free, only takes a couple seconds. Hit that subscribe button underneath this video, and let's go ahead and jump into update number 1, which is titled 2 days have passed since I've gotten to my sister's house. Well, 2 days ago, she sat me down and asked me about my real income and did not believe me when I told her about it. I came home to tell the whole incident to Martha and Barry, who also felt really bad about my sister's behavior. You see, they now know about my real profession and the income that I make from it, as I have to tell them after the suggestion of others on this platform, who advised me to disclose the real thing about my situation to my family members, so thank you for those comments. It was really helpful, as now have someone by my side who really believes in me. Robert was also happy to know my position and was really proud of me as well. I was relaxing in my house when I get a call from my brother. He was asking me to swing by my parents' house, as they all, including me, were called to Stacy's house as it was her wedding anniversary and she had called us all there. I grew somewhat tense as to what would be waiting for me there after all the things that happened before. Though, this time I was going there with my family members, and it gave me much relief to have them by my side. Moreover, they were also very indifferent to her after the incident that unfolded on Thanksgiving night, where she said all sorts of demeaning things to my parents and me. As I went there, I got a hold of my brother-in-law, Daniel. He recognized me from our previous meetings and was surprised by me being there. Robert introduced me to Daniel, and it made him even more delightful to know that I am his brother-in-law. We shared a few common thoughts about the trends in the market and other really important things, and after it, he introduced me to all his colleagues and friends who were present there as well. It turns out that this party wasn't going to be as boring as I thought it would be. As all of this was happening, Stacy was somewhere inside preparing her dress and looking forward to the ceremony. For some reason, I wanted her to see all this as it would make her more jealous of me, and I guess it was because of the previous memories from my past that I thought so. As the ceremony started, Daniel got involved with some of his cousins and other relatives who had flocked there from the other cities. I too got carried away with some of my friends from the market who were known to Daniel as well. Everything was going so well when suddenly my sister grabbed everyone's attention by calling them towards her. We were all focused on my sister, who was standing between all of us, and I guess she was trying to make an announcement or something. Stacy called towards me to introduce to everyone present there, and I was really not hoping for it all, as I could not expect any such thing from Stacy. I started to grow suspicious of her as her tone just grew somewhat intense afterwards. I know she was in awe of something so cunning, yet I did not think that she could come to such a low height. At first, she began praising the richness of the settlement and its rich heritage. It was indeed a great settlement, and the place itself had historic significance, and she later turned startling towards me, and began telling everyone around me that I must be really fortunate to have witnessed all of it, as it would have been the first time that I've come to such an extravagant party in my lifetime. This was just the beginning, and after it, she began taunting me for my petty lifestyle and disclosed to everyone that I claimed to earn such a huge amount of money, but yet I still live in a small house with no luxury at all, and I did not have proper bedding for me, nor do I have a good interior in my house, and she just began laughing with all her friends, saying, "How come a guy like me makes so much money and has no affluence at all?" Daniel was introduced with his colleagues, but as Stacy carried on making me ridiculed, he could not resist but to watch her play her cards there. After a while, he intervened in between them and stopped her right then and there, and he tried to assuage her and settle her down, though he was not able to contain her at all. Daniel tried to apologize to us for the respected actions, but the damage had been done. I left the party and everyone there, along with my parents and Barry, as they weren't able to withstand my sister's ridiculous behavior while she questioned their existence and wealth as well. The thing that troubled them the most was the way she shattered my image and reputation in front of everyone present there. It also affected me significantly, and I had convinced myself that I would not forgive her for this in a lifetime. Update number 2, and the title is "A Day Has Passed." Well guys, it's been about a day since Stacy's house for the wedding anniversary thing was done. Her way of ridiculing me in front of all her friends and relatives really hurt me from the inside. I was completely shattered to hear all of it, and I had not imagined that Stacy could do such a thing out of pure jealousy. There's no way that any other of her actions could possibly justify what happened yesterday, and I could not forgive her no matter what she did after this. Martha and Robert also took it personally and were really upset at Stacy's surreal behavior the other day. They were upset with her for the drama that unfolded on Thanksgiving night as well, and the events of yesterday just added even more fuel to their enragement. It was this thing that I noticed in my parents. They do not seem to undermine Stacy's mistakes as they used to do earlier in life. During the day, Martha called Stacy and asked her to apologize to me straight up for her mistake behavior the other day. She told her that it was really bad of her to say such demeaning things to her own brother. While she was speaking to Stacy, I was there in my home itself, and I was playing with Barry, and she told me about it afterwards. She disclosed that she tried to convince her that her behavior was disgusting and rude at the same time, though she was really angry at me and did not get the mistake that she made. Barry interrupted me as I was working on some common market trends and growth. He was really surprised by something and wanted me to listen to him, and I tried to calm him, but he was determined to share the thing with me right now. So I allowed him to reveal it, and it was then that he told me that both Martha and Robert broke off all relationships with Stacy, citing her abnormal behavior. He said they tried many times to confront her mistakes, though she behaved terribly with them, and they were held with no other option but to disown her and just be away from all her affairs. Update number 3. A week later, this is the final update. It's been a week since my parents broke all ties with my cunning yet ridiculous sister, Stacy. Since then, they have not heard from her, nor have they ever even tried to reach out to her at all. Time has seemed to play a role in my parents' lives, and they now acknowledge me and my brother, Barry, more clearly than Stacy. All of the attention and care that she used to get earlier on, not being shed on the both of us, well, everything in my life is coming back to the way I wanted it to be. Though I did not want my parents to disown Stacy, her malicious acts have brought her to this point in her life. While I was having lunch with my parents, I get a call from Daniel. I didn't recognize the number as I have not been in touch with him for a very long time, and he said that he wanted to apologize to me the other day on behalf of Stacy. He too had not expected such a thing from her, and it had left him in utter disgust towards her. I tried to convince him that it was not his fault at all, and that he should not apologize to me at all. Though I made it clear to him that I don't think that he had a role to play in all this at all, yet I could not forgive Stacy for being so ridiculous of the events of that evening. He seemed to respect my thoughts and felt really dejected for the demeaning acts of Stacy, and I just asked him to not get too harsh on Stacy for all such acts, as it is her real nature and it's difficult for her to let it go. The other day, as I was getting along with Martha over some childhood stuff, I get a call from Stacy, and at first I tried to ignore it, citing some sort of ridiculous comments or some other thing. I had to answer it after she just kept calling me for a while. She was weeping with remorse as she felt sorry for her behavior the other day. I wasn't able to get a hold of her, but she said she was sorry for her actions, as she never really felt sorry or remorseful for her misdeeds ever in life. Yet her asking me to forgive her was astounding to me. She told me that she got to know from Daniel that I work in the stock market, and I have a huge income, and that is way more than what her husband makes. She felt terrible after knowing all this. Moreover, Daniel was also angry at her for being so ridiculous towards me that evening. Though I got her feelings, I wasn't able to forgive her as I had enough of her, so I told her that I possibly could not even forgive her at all that she had said and done to me my whole life. After that, I put the phone down and I confronted the exact conversation that I had with her with my parents. And they both were quite determined towards their original decision of breaking all ties with her. She tried to call me and Martha a number of times, though we did not get her call. We were not going to forgive her mistakes this time, and her deceiving actions had surfaced a really bad image of our family around her relatives. Daniel and I became very close after that, and often met each other to discuss trends in the market and other stuff related. Though I refrained from going back to his place, he too respected my thoughts and decisions on it. I never heard back from Stacy after that, nor has my parents.